pulling power of Newcastle's biggest race was nowhere more evident than in the betting ring as time ticked down, with trainer Gay Waterhouse eyeing her second straight Cameron Gold Cup double. Red Trinket was fast firming as favourite. NBN's tipster was hedging his bets elsewhere, but still found the Queen of the Turf hard to write off.
The lady's an absolute freak. She won both races, the Cameron and the Cup last year. She's already won the Cameron yesterday, and who can deny, that Red Trinket hasn't got a great chance.
While Damien Oliver was an early withdrawal after his ride took ill, you didn't have to look too hard to spot the sport's biggest names. And when the gates opened, the crowd still got a good look at one of Australia's top jockeys in action. It certainly wasn't time off for whoever backed the winner, which paid $12.10 and $3.70. The Quinella returned $27.30 and the trifecta $512.50. But the day belonged to Sydney trainer John Hawkes and jockey Corey Brown. This his first Gold Cup win.
I've won a couple of the listed and group races here before, so to win the Newcastle Cup, it's a great thrill. And
Colin Baldwin, NBN News.
Emergency services worked until late last night to recover the body of the first victim of the massive operation to demolish the disused steelworks. 33-year-old Greg Rees of Bolton Point died when the three-storey industrial plant toppled over prior to its scheduled demolition. Today, the search for answers as to why the structure suddenly gave way began. The Workcover Authority has two specialists on the scene.
There is an inspector from Sydney there who's in charge of demolition in Sydney, and we also have an engineer that's very experienced in building collapse and other building matters.
The construction union also had access. Newcastle Secretary Bob Cochrane claims his officials were told by workers that they were worried about the plant shortly before the drama unfolded.
The workers complained to the boss, the demolisher, that because they'd cut the stays off the building was actually moving.
The claim comes as the Australian Workers Union, which covers employees on the site, backed an independent inquiry into the tragedy.
The Australian Workers Union will support any inquiry that helps lead to uncovering what's happened in this tragedy here, Gary.
Demolition workers at a standstill while investigations continue into the fatality. Workers could be back on site as early as Monday, but that decision will rest with the state government's industry regulator.
Well, the Workcover Authority itself has the authority to close down work on the site until it's satisfied that work can continue, so I'll wait advice from the Workcover Authority about that.
Gary Blair, NBN News.
There were some stunned faces at Newcastle Grammar today in a rare workshop with internationally recognised guitarist Bruce Matisky. The lucky students were put through their paces and shown what's needed to become one of the best musicians in the world. And at Maitland High, a special group of performers had the music in them at a concert for the intellectually disabled. They performed a range of hits, from the ballads to remixes to political, and had the time of their life.
Bewildered Singleton High students today came to see for themselves what's become an all-too-familiar sight. Classrooms gutted by fire.
It's just getting beyond a joke.
Last night saw the 8th suspected arson attack at the school in 3.5 years. In that time, damage to buildings and equipment has totalled a massive $2.2 million. One of the worst fires came in February 2000 when an administration building was destroyed.
Resources are being wasted. That can be money going into textbooks, a new canteen.
The school's principal, Dr Di Salters, says in this latest case, the 2 classrooms for drama and PE had only just replaced 2 others destroyed by fire 7 months ago. The new classrooms had been paid for by the PNC.
The people in the town and the parents of the kids here actually built these with their own hands and with their own time, and to knock them out like that so quickly with just the flicker of a flame is just so awful.
The Education Department's new security unit visited the school only a month ago and alarms were due to be installed in the buildings. And in what some see as an extreme but necessary measure, the school's principal has already applied to the Education Department to have a 3-metre high metal security fence erected around the entire school's perimeter. Vanessa Trezise, NBN News.
We believe that this is going to cause a significant impact in relation to the distribution of, in particular, amphetamines around Newcastle.
When Amanda Bradley last won the South Pacific Classic in 1999, she went on to win the World Cup as well. Now the Newcastle bowlers hoping history repeats, having claimed the women's title at what is Australia's biggest 10-pin tournament for a second time at the weekend, and with an average score that would have won the men's. Fellow Hunter bowler Anne-Marie Putney finished third. Bradley heads to the World Cup in Latvia next month. From alleys to greens, and the third annual Lake Macquarie Women's Festival of Bowls is in full swing at 13 local clubs this week. Among those rolling up for the start of competition at the host club Swansea today, defending champion Faye Craig and her fours team from Merewether. The festival concludes on Friday. Colin Baldwin, NBN News.
It was an indication of what's to come from the new Northern Region Police Commander. Self-confessed country cop Peter Parsons today using the personal approach he wants his 1,900 officers from the Hawkesbury to the Queensland border to practice. Be seen and work with your community.
It's making the community safer, it's showing people that there are police about and dealing with crime.
The high-profile policing supporter today warned that Newcastle may get a return visit from Operation Viking, but wouldn't speculate on whether North Coast towns would be targeted. Assistant Commissioner Parsons also foreshadowed his intention to get an understanding of the unique crime problems across the region and work with his officers and communities to confront them. Having worked in rural areas across northern New South Wales, Assistant Commissioner Parsons says he understands how local areas have a feeling of ownership about their police. He now intends to meet with local communities in the region to get an understanding of local issues and to explain that the police resource does have to be shared.
Yes, I agree that local communities probably should have their own policemen doing those community type things, but there will be times when that police officer, who might be a single unit officer, might be called to another area to assist the police dealing with a major problem.
Gary Blair, NBN News.
Just one of the high-profile names on United's long injury list, defender Chris Zoricic will hopefully get a run in Youth League this weekend, while midfielder Mark Wilson looks a definite. Ian Crook making an exception from his usual policy of trying not to play seniors in the junior grade. The rest of the squad, however, seems just fine, with no changes to the team that beat South Melbourne. The starting 11's also likely to remain the same, with the coach trying to let players settle in. They won't be allowed to get too comfortable this Sunday against Sydney United, however, a team Crook rates as a top 6 chance, and still coached by the outspoken Branko Chelina, the man who almost took the job at Newcastle. Colin Baldwin, NBN News.
It's one of life's rites of passage. When your late teens arrive, so does the time to get a driver's licence. Having been exposed to the benefits of advanced driving skills from a young age, Year 12 Newcastle Grammar School student Evan Daly wanted to tell his peers there's more to getting behind the wheel than just holding a licence. He's put the message together in his video, Advanced Driving for Young Drivers.
Teenagers today merely are taught to pass a test instead of drive a car safely, and I think they need to know what a car will do under certain situations. And even if people have already learnt this stuff, it can refresh their memory.
The presentation, which is the 18-year-old's HSC major work for a design and technology course, explains the concept of advanced driver training, what drivers need to understand about their vehicle, and shows the disadvantages of bad driving habits. Evan believes the 25-minute videos hit the target and even impressed the NRMA.
Well, I had them evaluate it for me and they came back with good marks and they said it was great. They're all for it.
Evan now hopes his presentation may even encourage more experienced motorists to consider updating their driving skills. Gary Blair, NBN News.
It's just, I guess, one of awareness and to try and generate some income for them to improve the facility so they can continue their work.
What a difference a day makes. After a howling westerly knocked conditions flat yesterday, gusty onshore winds whipped up a messy selection of waves at the cliff off Bar Beach today. If that wasn't tough enough, surfers also had unwelcome drop-ins for the finals. The women were flat out just trying to get out, with conditions getting less favourable as the day went on. They claimed one victim, But the Central Coast's Kath Robinson managed to get out the back for one long ride. That was enough to see her take the title. Having just returned from the World Tour, Jai Burns was favoured to do well in an event he won 2 years ago. But another multiple Steel City winner, Mark Hancock, was the one to rack up early rides and points. Newcastle Pro winner Matt Kay was putting in a great showing as well. While Noosa longboarder Craig Harvey flew the flag for the visiting Queenslanders. Hancock, though, was the one to catch, with the Dudley surfer finding the moves at the right time. Burns followed him every step of the way but just couldn't bridge the gap. As the clock wound down, one last wave from Hancock and he was home with another Steel City crown.
"89-year-old Laurel Cook was washing up dishes at her Windale unit when a robber wandered in a side door and stole money from her purse when her back was turned. The next night, as she slept on the couch, he broke in again. This time, all he took was a treasured nightgown.
I just get upset thinking some stranger could come into my home.
This month, there's been a dramatic increase in the number of break and enters in Lake Macquarie, around 390 incidents, almost 650 in the past 8 weeks. The crime wave started at Charlestown and Cahibah, then moved on to Warners Bay, Mount Hutton and Windale, then Jules and the Belmont area, followed by Caves Beach and Swansea. As police moved in, the thieves moved on, the elderly their main target.
These people have spent their whole lives contributing to the community, and then to be attacked by these people is just disgraceful.
Police say multiple offenders are stealing mostly cash and jewellery. They're warning the elderly to keep windows and doors locked and avoid leaving cash at home.
Don't keep it in the cupboard at home because they'll know where it is. Even if you hide it in the butter box in the fridge, they look there as well.
As for Laurel, she may lay awake at night, but she's not prepared to move.
I'm not going to let the likes of that scum, that's all they are, hunt me out of my home. I'm here till I die.
Vanessa Trezise, NBN News.
I won't give in and let them know they've turned me into a big coward. Yeah.
Sandy Hollow, population 100, the town where residents have been off the local water for months.
You cannot use the town water supply. Virtually you can't use it for anything. I mean, you know, it's killing the lawns, it's killing the gardens, it's wrecking the clothes.
The problem began earlier this year when local winery Rosemount stopped supplying water to the town from its bore on the Goulburn River. Muswellbrook Council tapped a new residential supply, and despite treating the water, a chemical reaction resulted in iron bacteria affecting the supply. At its worst, the water even ran black, as these samples kept by resident Sandra Wiley reveal. Council has trucked in water to eliminate the discoloration, but local Gareth Lloyd says town folk urgently want the problem fixed.
The community morale is down. Council don't seem to be listening to us. They don't seem to have a definite date when this problem will be fixed, and you know, the effect is astronomical.
Sandy Hollow residents are now a step closer to having improved water quality after Muswellbrook Council last night approved a new treatment process for the local supply. The further treatment will allow the town to have good quality drinking water that meets national standards. Muswellbrook Mayor John Colvin says the solution now requires a matching contribution from the Land and Water Conservation Department and could be in place within months.
If we get that within the next couple of weeks, we'll commence construction immediately, and we hope construction is concluded in 10 weeks, and that means by Christmas we'll have good water and I'll be able to put a drop of it with my scotch.
Gary Blair, NBN News.
The Dutch are again on the agenda. We're looking at potentially World Cup rugby pre-training for that event. So there's a number of different items that we're going to go out to the community with over the course of the next 2 to 3 years.
Since early 1999, the most activity in the old open-cut mine has been a visit by the odd worker or curious mob of kangaroos. But that will change soon, with Cunlock Management contracting Roach Mining to extract 2 seams of coal from an adjacent parcel of land.
Due to the poor conditions, it's now uneconomic to mine those reserves in that area. So to supplement production and maintain our contracts, we're going to reactivate the cut to supplement the underground.
The 5-year deal will see between 1 and 1.25 million tonnes of coal mined per year. However, with the scaling down of the underground operation, 35 voluntary redundancies will be offered. Still, it's hoped a further 20 workers will be picked up by the new contractor.
We've negotiated with the contractor. We've got people here with open cut experience within the underground, the contract has a selection criteria which he'll select to.
Peter Murray from the United Mine Workers Union says it's known about the troubles at Cumnock for some time, but he's concerned that only a portion of the 20 available jobs will go to former Cumnock workers.
We don't want to see a situation where the contractor comes in and in fact imports his workforce from outside the district or outside the area. That's not in the best interest, we don't believe, for the general community as well as the mining industry in total.
Cullen Robinson, NBN News.
A key player in Newcastle's defensive line, Chris Sorosic made it through his comeback game in Youth League last weekend, but has international commitments with New Zealand just around the corner. Ian Crook's now weighing up whether bringing the Kiwi captain back into the lineup for only 1 week will be worth it for all involved.
It's a difficult one for Chris and for us, like, you know, for him, if he does come back in and if he did play, for instance, and then bang, he's out the next week, it's a difficult one.
Crook today blamed Sunday's loss to Sydney on his own second half positional changes, so expect few alterations this week against the Spirit. Joel Griffith's injured foot is still a concern, while his brothers Ryan and Adam are more focused on beating their old club. Adam's home for 4 years.
I know most of the boys and we all get along quite well still, so I'm not sure whether they're going to aim at me particularly. I'll have to wait and see, I suppose.
United hopes there won't be a few other players aiming for each other either, after the ugly scuffle that marred the two clubs' pre-season encounter and saw Milan Bogojevic and the Spirit's Ian Ferguson both copping 2-week suspensions.
If something happens, there is a little something always there, and I'm sure it will be just underneath the surface.
Colin Baldwin, NBN News. Like many 18-year-olds, Matthew Lantry is currently studying for his HSC, even though it seems his future's already mapped out. After a number of seasons in Newcastle's junior ranks, the centre's now pursuing his league career with Parramatta, due to the wealth of young talent already featuring in the Knights' top grade.
Better opportunity when you look at Gidley, Hughes, Tahu and all those blokes that are at Newcastle. I believe there's a better opportunity down there.
Spotted during Schoolboy League over the years by the legendary Noel Cleal, he'll now be a part of what Parramatta calls its Jet Squad. Odd name aside, it sees him not only getting job training but weekly coaching sessions with the likes of Brian Smith, under Crush's watchful eye all the while.
I think he's had 30 go through the house, and I think 28 have gone through on the first grade, so he's got a pretty good success rate coming out of there.
Lantry joins the Eels in December but won't hit full training until the new year. An arm broken during this year's Jersey Flag has to heal first.
It is a slight hiccup, but I should be able to get over it and get back to the form that I had when I finished.
Colin Baldwin, NBN News.
This impressive piece of machinery is a computerised tomography scanner, the latest in multi-slice CT technology. In layman's terms, it provides sectional images, giving doctors a clearer and more accurate picture of the body.
This particular scanner enables 16 slices to be obtained in every rotation of the X-ray tube.
It takes just seconds to scan patients and only minutes to process the images, in potentially life-saving time.
It's quite often important, as you're aware, in seriously ill cases for patients to be scanned very quickly, and this gives us that capacity.
New South Wales Health Minister Craig Knowles officially commissioned the new machine today. It's one of 3 scanners to be installed in the Hunter region at a cost of $3 million. The new technology aims to enhance the current X-ray equipment, not to replace it.
Certainly, CT scanning of this type complements some of the traditional modalities like general X-ray, but certainly offer or have the potential to offer the results much quicker.
Tanya Carlisle, NBN News. A free man, 48-year-old Peter John Shoesmith, did not give evidence during his 17-day trial, but pleaded not guilty to the murder of Stanley Lieber. The Bar Beach surfer was stabbed to death outside a Cooks Hill surf shop in the busy Derby Street around 4 a.m. in August last year. A jury returned a verdict of not guilty last night. Earlier in the day, they told Justice Michael Adams they could not reach a unanimous verdict, but were directed to resume deliberations. Stanley Lieber's parents believe his killer has been set free.
I can't believe it. I can't. Still, is like my son is gone and he's free in the book.
But a statement from Shoesmith's barrister says on the evidence that was there, the verdict was a just one. She said the Crown had no eyewitnesses or fingerprints to link our client to the crime scene. The night Stanley Lieber was killed, Shoesmith had been staying in a unit above him. Both had argued after Shoesmith flicked a cigarette butt into the Liebers' courtyard. But Shoesmith's girlfriend supported an alibi that he was asleep at the time of the murder. The Crown claimed the accused reported the crime from a nearby telephone box. No fingerprints were found there, but a witness testified it was probably his voice on a 000 recording. Vanessa Trezise, NBN News.
He's expecting the delay to continue until around 9 o'clock tonight.
Particularly north of Korea.
Like many 18-year-olds, Matthew Lantry is currently studying for his HSC, even though it seems his future's already mapped out. After a number of seasons in Newcastle's junior ranks, the centre's now pursuing his league career with Parramatta, due to the wealth of young talent already featuring in the Knights' top grade.
Better opportunity when you look at Gidley, Hughes, Tahu and all those blokes that are at Newcastle. I believe there's a better opportunity down there.
Spotted during Schoolboy League over the years by the legendary Noel Cleal, he'll now be a part of what Parramatta calls its Jet Squad. Odd name aside, it sees him not only getting job training but weekly coaching sessions with the likes of Brian Smith, under Crush's watchful eye all the while.
I think he's had 30 go through the house and I think 28 have gone through on the first grade, so he's got a pretty good success rate coming out of there.
Lantry joins the Eels in December but won't hit full training until the new year. An arm broken during this year's Jersey Flag has to heal first.
It is a slight hiccup, but I should be able to get over it and get back to the form that I had when I finished.
Colin Baldwin, NBN News.
This impressive piece of machinery is a computerised tomography scanner, the latest in multi-slice CT technology. In layman's terms, it provides sectional images, giving doctors a clearer and more accurate picture of the body.
This particular scanner enables 16 slices to be obtained in every rotation of the X-ray tube.
It takes just seconds to scan patients and only minutes to process the images, in potentially life-saving time.
It's quite often important, as you're aware, in seriously ill cases for patients to be scanned very quickly, and this gives us that capacity.
New South Wales Health Minister Craig Knowles officially commissioned the new machine today. It's one of 3 scanners to be installed in the Hunter region at a cost of $3 million. The new technology aims to enhance the current X-ray equipment, not to replace it.
Certainly, CT scanning of this type complements some of the traditional modalities like general X-ray, but certainly offer or have the potential to offer the results much quicker.
Tanya Carlisle, NBN News.
A free man, 48-year-old Peter John Shoesmith, did not give evidence during his 17-day trial, but pleaded not guilty to the murder of Stanley Lieber. The Bar Beach surfer was stabbed to death outside a Cooks Hill surf shop in the busy Derby Street around 4 a.m. in August last year. A jury returned a verdict of not guilty last night. Earlier in the day, they told Justice Michael Adams they could not reach a unanimous verdict, but were directed to resume deliberations. Stanley Lieber's parents believe his killer has been set free.
I can't believe it. I can't. It still is like my son is gone and he's free in the walk.
But a statement from Shoesmith's barrister says on the evidence that was there, the verdict was a just one. She said the Crown had no eyewitnesses or fingerprints to link our client to the crime scene. The night Stanley Lieber was killed, Shoesmith had been staying in a unit above him. Both had argued after Shoesmith flicked a cigarette butt into the Liebers' courtyard. But Shoesmith's girlfriend supported an alibi that he was asleep at the time of the murder. The Crown claimed the accused reported the crime from a nearby telephone box. No fingerprints were found there, but a witness testified it was probably his voice on a 000 recording. Vanessa Trezise, NBN News.
The Karua bottleneck was again causing angst this afternoon for southbound motorists as they returned from the three-day break. It took around 90 minutes to make the journey between Bulahdelah and Karua, with police expecting the delay to continue until around 9 o'clock tonight.
Particularly north of Karua, up to around about Tea Gardens, we expect it to be fairly heavy because of all that traffic that travelled up on Friday evening and Saturday have to now come home in one day.
The traffic flowed steadily south of Karua, however by this evening the F3 through the Central Coast was also experiencing congestion. The 80km/h zone through Mount White causing the build-up of Sydney-bound travellers. Despite the volume of traffic, the number of serious accidents this long weekend is down when compared to the October break last year. Police say their greatest concern is the number of drivers prepared to risk heavy fines for not wearing seatbelts.
They cop a fine as well as the passenger that's not wearing his seatbelt, and also this weekend, it being double demerit points, they have a chance of losing their licence.
Gary Blair, NBN News. The Lower Hunter heads into summer with water supplies for the region's 500,000 residents in good shape despite the prevailing drought.
There was quite a lot of rain earlier in the year around February, which had the effect of topping up our storages. So whilst we ask people to be very careful with water consumption, at the moment our storages are around 92%.
Being a water miser won't stop there. A new draft plan by the corporation on how to handle demand for the next 10 to 30 years will require more restraints, with construction of new storage dams being ruled out. Lower Hunter residents are already among Australia's most efficient water consumers, using 25% less than people in other major cities. But under Hunter Water's latest plan, they'll be challenged to cut consumption by another 15%.
So we're not asking people to, we believe, suffer great pain. We're just asking people to be sensible and build on the good record of the past.
Grahamstown Dam near Raymond Terrace will see further improvements. Work will allow more water to be taken from the Williams River at Seaham during floods and sent along the Ballakira Canal to Grahamstown to ensure the storage is kept at high levels. Gary Blair, NBN News.
The latest parcel of land to be offered for sale at Fame Cove is a developer's dream. 248 hectares of unspoilt land with 3 kilometres of Port Stephens waterfront, including 2 beaches. A Sydney developer who bought the land 4 years ago tried to subdivide it, but his plans were stifled by a state government draft proposal that suggested some of it should be given to National Parks and Wildlife. Now he's selling, and the pressure is mounting on the state government to buy.
This sets the scene for the tourist industry in Port Stephens, but it's very important for conservation too, because this area is still in its pristine state.
The state earmarked the land for conservation in 1984, but it remains in private ownership.
I can remember a few years ago before an election, all the parliamentarians and politicians went along there, like, oh, it's got to be acquired, you know. Everybody wants to see this land remain in its natural state and be available to the people of the future and the tourist industry and so on. But everybody wants it, but nothing's being done. That's the trouble.
Paul Lobb, NBN News.
A total of 62 of the Hunter Valley's 75 boutique wineries entered this year's awards, aiming to show off their prowess against their peers. Participation is limited to growers whose total grape crush does not exceed 350 tonnes a year and must be from grapes grown in the Hunter Valley. Judges put the wines to the taste test today to find the region's top drop.
Well, strangely enough, the Chardonnay, which is usually a very secondary variety to Semillon in the Hunter, but the 2002 Chardonnays that we've looked at are particularly good.
Far from being squeezed out by the big operators, boutique winemakers are having an increasing influence on the region's reputation. Port Stephens Winery is one such operator.
We're going into our 10th year coming next year. It's our 10th anniversary. We think we've have a niche market.
The winery is now using its unique position in a prime tourist location to help boost the profile of other boutique operators from regional Australia.
It gives these guys an opportunity to sort of showcase top quality products to a tourist market, which they wouldn't normally have access to.
Tanya Carlisle, NBN News. It's technology like this that turns household rubbish into agricultural-grade compost that the National Waste Conference aims to promote. Delegates inspected the plant in Raymond Terrace today, hoping to take the information back to their respective councils.
Everybody's excited about the fact that we now don't need to put waste into landfill. Landfill is a very deleterious process for the environment. It emits greenhouse gases, pollutes waterways, and we don't need to do it anymore.
The facility has helped slash the amount of landfill waste in Port Stephens by 70%, a feat many councils are hoping to emulate. Kate Atkinson from Playford City Council in Adelaide said her local government area is desperately seeking an alternative to landfill, as the city's garbage site is due to reach capacity in 2 years' time.
we are looking at ways of being able to redirect waste in a better manner. We have alternative landfill sites, but the region that I'm in is looking at being able to process waste to end up with a good product at the end.
The conference continues in Coffs Harbour until Friday. Tanya Carlisle, NBN News.
I've needed blood myself in the past, and I feel that there are many others that need it.
We all feel for the people that are over there and for everyone that's affected by it.
The 25-year-old mother's severe depressive illness began after the birth of her second child and was exacerbated by a relationship breakdown. She's confessed to trying to poison her 7-month-old baby and 5-year-old son on November 25th last year with the intent to murder them. Her eldest son was fed Panadine 4 tablets crushed into chocolate, the youngest liquid Panadol. She then swallowed enough for an overdose herself. She planned to end all their lives by lighting a gas cylinder or gassing them. A police report stated not long after ingesting she had a change of heart. She phoned her father, who told her to put her fingers down the baby's throat and phone 000. The children were taken to hospital, but the dosage was not high enough to be lethal. The mother told a psychiatrist that she believed in Armageddon and felt she was taking all of them to a better world, to a paradise, which is what she told her oldest son, and allowed both boys to open Christmas presents after giving them the overdose. Judge Ralph Coulihan accepted psychiatric opinions that found her state of mind was so disturbed she could not appreciate the gravity of what she was doing, but now she had recovered. The judge said she did everything in her power to change it and was convinced she loved her children. He claimed the offender could have been acquitted had she used the defence of mental illness and gave her a 2-year suspended sentence, ordering further treatment. Vanessa Trezise, NBN News.
Speedway motorcycling might have been virtually invented in Australia, but it's become huge business in Europe. This weekend, the sport has come home for the 10th round of the World Championships to be held at Stadium Australia in Sydney. Among the locals leading the charge is former Toronto rider Todd Wilshire.
I'm looking for this to be my best Grand Prix. I go one better than I did in Cardiff in England this year, and I'm feeling excited about it and feeling quite confident.
He says he's had a mixed season overseas. It started well, but has since been disappointing. He currently sits 12th in the championships.
May have took the World Championship a little bit for granted, so yeah, I need to really pull something out here, and I think just the fact of me being home is a big boost to me, and I look forward to it.
He is, however, a member of the Aussie team that won gold at the World Titles this year, but the prospect of racing in front of a potential home crowd of 80,000 is exciting, even if the track and conditions are a mystery.
It's a bit of a lottery to see, how the track's going to turn out, and hopefully it's going to be okay. And riding in that venue, it's just going to be exciting. I'm excited just to get down there and have a look at the place.
Colin Robinson, NBN News. Between 45 and 50 Australian women die every week from breast cancer, and although new research and treatments have given them their best ever fighting chance, a cure remains the main prize. The Australian-New Zealand Breast Cancer Trials Group, which coordinates national studies from Newcastle, is among the world leaders in searching for that cure.
Women all around the world benefit from the research. We have programs for breast cancer prevention, for breast cancer treatment, for both early disease and later disease.
It was no coincidence that cosmetics company Avon announced a $600,000 donation into research on National Breast Cancer Day. That money will now be used to help coordinate various projects around the country.
It will be used specifically to commence our new prevention program. We have a new drug waiting to be tested that we think might be able to prevent breast cancer, and that would be a tremendous leap forward.
Colin Robinson, NBN News.